Hey everyone, welcome to Cryo Chaos. Sorry for the one-day delay. I underestimated the cruel indifference of one of my professors who stood by and allowed a majority of our class to drown in a murky lake of endless theoretical and experimental molar masses. Anyway, this week we're talking about cars, and in the same vein of Katie's disclaimer, I'd like to go ahead and tell you to not expect a lot of technobabble, and by not a lot, I mean none at all. None of that. And also, like Katie, I've been on a good number of road trips in my life. Out of the 29 states in the US that I've visited, probably about 25 of them I have driven to or through. When you live in a big state like Texas, your relationship with driving is pretty unique. First of all, we don't measure trips in units of distance, like miles or kilometers or anything like that, but in time. For instance, if you ask me where I went to school freshman year of college, I would tell you I went to a school in a teeny tiny podunk town about an hour north of Houston. Katie lives about 15 minutes southeast of me. Hannah lives about an hour and a half to the southwest. I work 25 minutes east of here, and my chem lab is about 30 minutes to the north. And I have no idea what any of those distances are in miles. And I couldn't tell you why we do it. It's a regional thing, I'm sure. Personally, I think it's easier. I mean, saying I have to drive 3 hours down I-45 actually sounds better than saying I have to drive 200 miles. Which, for the record, was something that I did relatively regularly for a couple years. Which brings me to my next point. We spend so much time in our cars in this day and age, it is truly not surprising that we seem to develop some pretty unique relationships with our vehicles. I'll illustrate my point to you by telling you the story of my cars. My first car was a 2003 Nissan Altima, which I named Aiden. It was a golden beige color, and I inherited him from my dad when I got my driver's license summer of 2008. I drove the heck out of that car, not to mention 4 autumn months out of the year where I effectively lived out of it. But Aiden met his end about a year and a half ago on a hot stretch of Texas highway. See, a semi-truck had a tire blowout, and because of the construction and all the traffic, he couldn't go fetch it out of the middle of the road, so he left it there. And I hit it, because I wasn't able to swerve away, which in and of itself wouldn't have been a huge deal, except that while I was sitting there trying to get my wits together, I was rear-ended by another truck. Everyone involved was physically fine, but we had to make the decision to have Aiden totaled. It was a very sad day. Silver lining, the rest of the time I was at school I got to drive a rental car, which was a brand new Dodge Challenger. Beautiful car. Awful, awful blind spots. Be so careful with those cars. Not too much longer after that I got my second car, a silver 2010 Kia Forte, Philip. I still pretty much live in my car, what with all the driving that I do, but despite the trash in the side doors and the coffee stains on the cup holders, I am pretty attached to my car. In retrospect, I should probably take better care of the inside. The outside too, but I still love my baby. I have an air freshener. It smells like apple pie and some New Year's beads on my rearview mirror and a pink ribbon. But regardless of whether or not you actually know anything about how cars work or, how old your car is, the state of it, how clean you keep it, every person who spends a lot of time in their car will tell you that it becomes more of a sentimental thing than simply a mode of transportation. Your car can become part of your family, or it can come to represent you in a way. Cars are almost like second homes. Unfortunately, sometimes they can also be a person's first home. So I guess the moral of this story, like most of my stories, is to think about the things around you, like cars. Something that you use every day, but it's more than just a way to get from point A to point B. Cars are actually huge historical and cultural icons, but that's a video for another day. I said they had a moral, not a point.